Happy Turkey Day!
Oh, wow. Yeah, I guess it is. Happy Thanksgiving.
By the time this comes out, it will be, and we looked ahead. And by we, I mean you.
Yes, I was looking at a calendar and I was like, wait, does this episode publish on Thanksgiving? And in fact, it does. So happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Welcome to Pride and Accomplishment. My name is Jason.
And I'm Chris. This is episode 88.
As you can maybe tell, I have a little cold, so sorry for the way I sound. Just a heads up at the beginning. It's just a cold. It's just a cold. I know no one gets just colds anymore, but it's just a cold.
Well, I hope you feel better soon. I don't even remember what it's like to have just a cold and to not be really worried about it.
Well, so at first I was like, oh man, I mean, whatever. But I was like, no, this is just like, I just have a little stuff. It's a little, you know, low cough. Nothing. I mean, listen, I've had COVID. This is not COVID.
Yeah.
It was bad. It was not fun. I would not recommend. But this is just a normal cold. People get colds.
I suppose they do.
It's snowing today where I am.
Wow. Snow.
So,
what's that?
You know, it's, I know, it's great. I love it.
I haven't seen snow in like a couple years, I think.
Oh, you come visit me anytime.
I know. I should.
Although I wouldn't recommend it for you during the winter.
It's fine. I don't mind it. I grew up in a place where it snows, so it's fine.
Oh yeah, good point. That's right. Snow's fun. I like snow. I lived in Florida for a while, right? And I lived in DC for a while. And both of those, but like Florida, not so much. DC had like seasons. Florida did not really have seasons. I miss the seasons. I really like how they change. Because by the time you're ready for the, like, you've been in a season so long, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm ready for the next one. And then you go into the season, you're like, oh my gosh, the season's changing. And then like by the end of that season, you're like, oh my god, I'm so ready for the next season. And then the season changes. Like, oh my god, it's built into us somehow.
Yeah, it's almost like the world has had seasons forever.
For like millions of years. I know, it's crazy.
Anyway, this is a podcast about video games and such, so maybe we should talk about some games or something.
Who knew? I have follow-up. I have like structure, like actual follow-up. Last episode we talked, I think during the post show, about Marvel Snap. You introduced me to Marvel Snap. And I had heard about it, but it was a phone game, so I had paid no attention to it because I don't like phone games. Well, it turns out I like phone games.
Hey, congratulations. You like phone games.
I like the way Marvel Snap is monetized. I like the way that it is. I think last time, it might have been the episode title, I said, what's the mobile in this? Because I had been playing and I was just like, it seems free so far. And that's how they get you.
That is how they get you.
But the way it's monetized is, in my opinion, they've done what Rocket League has done, where like they've monetized the cosmetics of a phone game. I love it. It's so good because I have that like tiny urge to put money in, but not a ton of money, like not a ton of money and not a huge urge. Like it's the perfect amount of like
a nudge.
Yeah, it's the perfect amount. And I think they've done a really good job with it. And I don't know that I'm going to give them any money. I have not yet. But I have been playing it. It's actually been really, like, I actually have been enjoying it. It's simple enough, but complicated enough. And it's a solid, like, 3-lane card game.
Yeah, that reminds me, when you say 3-lane card game, of the failed card game that they tried to make out of Dota 2 called Artifact that came out like 4 or 5 years ago. And it was a complete and total flop. But it was a 3-lane card game, like a game where you played like 3 games of Hearthstone at the same time almost. And I feel like Marvel Snap has really distilled it down to like just the bare basics of like what a 3-lane card game can be, because it's so bite-sized and so small and it fits so nicely on the phone.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's really, really good. The thing I like about it the most is it doesn't require like there's short matches, right? They're only 6 rounds. There's only like 1 to 5 actions per round, right? Like drag a card onto the certain lanes, right? Like that's it. That's all you can do. There's no like tapping. There's no timed things. It's a strategy game, right? It's a card game. So they're short and there's relatively like, you don't have to pay perfect attention to it the whole time. And the timers are long enough on each round where you're like, if you need to do something, it's not a big deal. In comparison, I say all of this in comparison to say something like Rocket League Sideswipe, which I also really like on the phone, on the game on the phone. But it requires like for 2 minutes constant attention. Like you cannot take your attention off of it.
Right, because it's a real time game.
Right, it's Rocket League. It's a real time game on your phone. So it's a different commitment, I'll say, like a different level of commitment. Whereas like in Snap, like I really don't want to lose the game, but it's not a big deal. It's, you know, whatever. But at the same time, like if I need to let my dog out or let my dog back in from being outside, I can take those 15, 20, 30 seconds like during a round to just do that, or while I'm waiting for the other person to make their play or whatever, right? Like all of that is so much easier in the way that this game is designed. The other thing I like about it is that the pace of the game is perfect. They've done this thing where both players take their turn at the same time, and I think that it's perfect. Like that's not how Hearthstone is played, right? It's not how many other card games are played, where both people, like you play and then they play and then you play and then they play, which means it's actually 12 rounds, not 6 rounds. Whereas in this one, you both make a play and then you rotate who reveals first. The pace is just so much better.
Have you found that there's strategy to the reveal thing? Because like they make this big deal about like you can tell who reveals first by seeing what their little shiny around the portrait is, but like I haven't seen like any major strategy advantage to being the one that flips first.
I haven't found no, I know. And that's been like the tip of the day for the last 5 days. But no, I have not. Maybe I don't have any cards that mean any. I don't know. I think if you reveal a card that affects the enemy's cards, it can't affect a non-revealed card unless it's an ongoing effect, right? So if your card has an on-reveal effect, it won't affect the enemy's card if it hasn't been revealed yet.
Okay.
So I think that's a little bit of it. It doesn't happen very often because very few cards actually affect the enemy's cards. Like some of them do, but not a whole lot. The thing that has mattered more to me, what I found more, is there are a lot of cards that on reveal will affect all of your other cards on your side. And if you're playing 2 cards in the same column, or 2 cards at the same time, and one of them has an on reveal that affects all of the cards, you have to make sure you play that one last. The order in which you play cards actually matters.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, but like, it's such a small thing. Like, yeah, that's kind of strategy and all that, but like, that's not hard to remember, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's just another rule of the game.
I find that at least at the level I'm playing so far, which is admittedly, I don't play enough to like get super high in the rankings, and I like the way they do rankings and the reason it's called Snap and all that. But I find that I don't people, for some reason, and they must be bots. I don't know if they're bots or other people, but I find a lot of times that people want to get a really high power level in a single lane. But the objective of the game is to win 2 of the 3 lanes. It doesn't matter how high the power level is, just that you win 2 out of the 3. And I just find it hilarious, the decisions people make. They're just so bad.
Yeah, it's tricky because you can't tell, because there's no like real form of chat or like interaction between the players other than just playing the game, that like you can't tell if you're playing against people or bots. So it's, I don't know, tricky because you don't know, like, are these people all just really bad, or like am I still playing against bots, or like do they use bots to fill in because if you don't have enough matchmaking or whatever, and there's just no way to know.
No. So I am finding myself winning like probably 80 to 90% of the games I play.
I think I had a similar win rate. Like, I think I've not lost very many games. Like, I might be able to count on my 2 hands, like the number of games that I've lost, but I haven't played as many games as you either. So maybe that's a factor.
Yeah, certainly the first 10 levels of games, you are playing against what I think bots, right? Once you hit level 10, I think you're kind of put into the world. They don't tell you, they don't show you, like, but I've definitely played against people, like, because when I lose, I compliment. I don't act. You can't actually, but I like to compliment the people that make good plays, right? And I was like, oh yeah, that's what I would have done too. Like that's what you should have done to win. But like I don't see it enough to give those compliments. So I don't know. It's been really fun. It's the way that the collection works and the upgrading the cards, and that's where the monetization comes in a little bit. But it's been. I find myself returning to it, and that to me is a successful phone game.
On the flip side, I would say since introducing you to it, I have not played nearly as much, partly because my life schedule has changed a little bit, so I didn't have quite as much time as I did when I suggested it. But I do look forward to getting back into it at some point. Like, it's still on my phone. I still kind of open it every once in a while and maybe play a round or 2. But I haven't been playing it nearly as much.
Don't you have a lot of public transit, like to and from your job?
Yeah, that's true. I've been reading a little bit, like reading on my Kindle on public transit a little bit.
Oh, okay. I can't blame you for that. That's probably a better use of your time than playing phone games.
Maybe.
I mean, if you want pointers, you just let me know. I've got like an 80 to 90% win rate. No, it's fun. I think it's good. I think I'm not quite at the point yet where I'm looking up decks and like strategies. I've been playing with pretty much a static deck the whole time. None of the cards that I've unlocked or added are interesting to me enough to add to your deck. And the deck being so small, right? I think there's only 12 cards, right?
Yeah, it's 12 cards in the deck.
Yeah, it only being 12 cards, like you don't get a whole lot of variety. Like, you don't, like, there are certain, there's not certain cards that you have to have in there, but the way the energy works, there's only 6 rounds, and you get 5 energy the 5th round and 6 energy the 6th round. And like, all of the cards I got for the first, 2 hours playing the game were level 5 and level 6 energy cards. And I was like, I only need 2 of these. There's no point in having 4 level 6 cards in your, or 6 energy cards in your deck. It's only 6 rounds, and there's only 12 cards. So, I don't know, it's been a struggle for me to in my own head, come up with some build diversity with my deck. But I think at a certain point, I will probably start looking up some recommended sets and, doing a little bit more research if I start to lose. But I'm not losing, so.
Does the game have a public leaderboard? Like, do you know where you are on the leaderboard?
I don't know where I am, but it does have a rank system, right? Like, because that's the whole snap thing and the number of cubes you get. And those ranks go really high. Like, I'm ranked like 17 or whatever, and they go up into the hundreds.
Yeah, I see. I'm on the game right now, and it does have a level 100 rank. I think I'm level 10, which is like the minimum that you can be and still have a rank.
It also had an introductory battle pass, and then I was like, oh man, I got to the end of the battle pass. And not realizing that once you get back, like, past that first one, there's the actual battle pass going on right now, which is, I think, 50 levels, and that'll take some time to get to the end, because it took me some time to get to the end of the one with 20 levels. So,
yeah, I'm at level 14 on the one with 20.
But the mission structure is good. I mean, the way it does timing and like how you have to come back every so often, like, it's definitely a mobile game. But I don't know, it's been solid. If you like card games like Hearthstone or whatever, and you want one on your phone, like, I would actually recommend this. This is actually a good, like, mobile, not predatory game.
And it plays so fast. Like, you can play an entire game in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe 7 minutes. But like, it's really fast to play one round. Whereas like Hearthstone, I feel like you can end up in a game of Hearthstone that takes like 20 minutes. Or at least maybe that's what it feels like, because I'm really bad at Hearthstone.
No, I think they can go that long. In Marvel Snap, it's there's 6 rounds, sometimes 7 if you get that special lane. But I think, is it 30-second timer on each round? So like maximum 30 seconds. But no one ever takes 30 seconds.
Yeah, that would make it a 3-minute game.
Plus the animations, right? So maybe another 30 seconds total for the whole game. Yeah, no, they're quick. I mean, it's less than 5 minutes per game, for sure. Here's, I have some more follow-up.
More follow-up?
I know, it's just constant follow-up. It's just the whole show is just going to be follow-up.
We'll see about that.
last week, I kind of said something about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 that I was going to wait for it to go on sale.
Yeah, of course. I mean, because that makes logical sense. Of course you would do that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely.
That's what you did last year, and it worked out really well.
It worked out so well, Chris.
So, I mean, you obviously haven't bought it yet because you're waiting for that sale, right?
I have absolutely purchased it. Yes. Yes, I did.
Great. Good job.
I don't know. I was just sitting here one day, and I was just like, I kind of want to play a shooter, and I don't really want to play Fortnite alone. And, like, no one else was on. And I was just like, I could play Call of Duty. And I thought about it, and I go, I'm just going to buy it. I'm just going to do it. And I did it. I just did it. I just bought it. I don't know. It was a moment of weakness, okay? But I have purchased it, and I have played it. And it is Call of Duty. It's just Call of Duty.
That's pretty much always my review of Call of Duty. It is Call of Duty. And for me, that means that it's like, I only really want it because I want to play with my friends who want it. But like, even they don't really want it. So I'm not really sure what we're all doing with ourselves in the Call of Duty world.
So let me give some praise to it. Call of Duty took this turn after Modern Warfare 2, the first, in 2012. I don't know, some year.
Long time ago.
It took this turn to be a very twitchy, kind of high movement, kind of like just real crazy movement kind of game, right? Where movement mattered more than shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the original, was it was modern warfare, right? It was yes, it was a video game, but it was, as much as possible, it was trying to show show a story or show a setting that would exist today-ish. A little bit in the future, probably. A couple years in the future, maybe. So the movement and the game was, this has multiple connotations, a little bit more grounded. So, not as jumpy, not as slidey, not as twitchy, not as all of those things. And Modern Warfare 2, 2022, the one that just came out, returns to that slightly. I wouldn't say it's all the way back to where it was, but it is certainly, in the grand scheme of Call of Duty, way less twitchy than it used to be. And that has been an absolute blessing. It has made this game something where every interaction that I lose, right, every gunfight that I lose, I'm just like, yeah, okay, cool, yeah, I lost that. That was my bad. They have better positioning. They have better sight lines. They have better, they hit more shots than I did. But it has never made me like angry. You know how I get, right? Like, you absolutely know how I get.
Oh yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
Just like, what the heck is happening on my screen right now, and how is that allowed? That has never happened in this game so far. Now, arguably, I have not played very much, and I'm not playing at very high level lobbies. But so far in playing this game, in I would say 2 hours, I've played this game 2 hours. That has not happened a single time.
Wow, that's pretty good.
And that has been from me. That is very, very high praise for a Call of Duty game.
So what you're saying is it's very fair.
I don't know that I would use that word. I think it's always been fair. Everyone's always been able to do they've always been able to do everything. It's always been fair. It's just, but I would say it's like the things that are happening on screen are as you would expect a human to be able to do, right? So someone, just straight up, someone older like me, right, that doesn't, my eyes don't follow things as good anymore. They I don't bounce. I can't jump and slide and somersault and still keep my crosshairs on someone's head at the same time. I can't do that. So this game it's slightly more tactical, maybe is a good word, where like your placement, your movement, your map knowledge matters way more in comparison to previous Call of Duties, where in previous Call of Duties you could be a one-man show. I still think that's possible in this game, but I think a lot of more of that one-man show is based on tactical knowledge and ability rather than just how well you can control a controller.
That's encouraging for those of us who are, yes, getting outside of the target demographic of college students that play too many video games.
I think that's why a lot of our friends have kind of gravitated towards it. I mean, that's the reviews it was getting, right? And it was making a lot of like the recent Call of Duty fans like a little upset because they've mastered these skills that make them very good at Call of Duty. But someone like me, right, who's older, who's not a 16-year-old high on sugar kind of high school student, I'm able to be good at this game still, and I think that's why a lot of our friends are gravitating towards it. I'm actually playing on mouse and keyboard.
Oh wow!
I've heard a lot of reviews saying, "Oh my gosh, the controller is like just so much better. The aim assist is crazy." Blah blah blah. And I was like, "Yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, I get that." I have a better experience playing on mouse and keyboard, and I've been playing on mouse and keyboard, and I would say I have been competitive in the lobbies that I'm being put in, and that's good enough for me. Like as long as I'm not getting absolutely slaughtered, alone, right? If my whole team is just like obviously we're outmatched, fine, that's fine. Like we're just gonna lose, and some we stomp. But if I'm losing and everyone else is winning, like on my team, that would be a sign to me that I need to plug in a controller. I am typically the only mouse and keyboard player on my team, and I'm keeping up. Like I'm doing just fine. So I'm happy. It's fun. It's a solid Call of Duty game. It does have co-op missions.
Oh,
and I really, really want to play them. And I'm going to wait for it to go on sale and see if you pick it up. I don't know if you will, but if you do, I actually really want to do the co-op missions. They seem like they're like graded 1, 2, 3 stars, and you have objectives and blah blah blah. And I don't know if you ever played the Battlefield 4 ones with me, where you had like those co-op missions, but they're a lot like that. I heard they're a little easy, but there are like co-op, like they're similar like the StarCraft ones. Do you remember when you and I played the StarCraft ones?
Yeah, those were fun.
Those were hard.
They were really, really hard though. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, they were fun though. They're co-op objectives, and I the Modern Warfare 2 has some, and I think they're coming out with more, but they have them. So I'd like to play them.
I will say that I don't know if I'll wait for the first sale, but I will wait for, whenever I'm in a position where I'm ready to play, right, see the 2-hour rule, then I will, like, in that general vicinity, evaluate it based on how many people are still playing Call of Duty. Like, that's always how this goes, is that we get the, everybody gets all swept up in the hype of the launch of a new Call of Duty game. Everybody buys it. They play it for maybe 2 weeks, sometimes 3 or 4, and then they drop it like a rock. And I am in the position right now where I'm really not going to have time and a setup to play Call of Duty well for until at least probably like December, January kind of time frame. So I get this kind of waiting period where I can see how everybody else does and see how the group gels around, whether or not they're going to actually play this game before I need to make a decision and kind of jump in or not. So first sale, maybe if there's a Christmas sale, like an after Christmas sale, that would be a time for me to look into it. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm not sold yet, I would say, because I've been burned by the last 2 or 3 Call of Duty games, I think, where we bought them, played them for like 2 weeks and then dropped them.
Yeah. It's like it's not the inverse. It's like it's like a second rule. You got the 2-hour rule, and then there's like the 2-week rule where where like if you're not totally sold on a game, you should wait 2 weeks before you buy it because your friends might just drop it.
Right, exactly. Or you have to go into it as kind of a pact with your friends, right? Where you're just like, we're all going to buy this, and maybe we're going to play it, and maybe we're not going to play it, but we're all in it together. And that's the other way to do it, I think. That seems to be the Destiny rule.
Yeah, that's a good name for it.
The I'll buy it if you buy it.
Yeah, it's the yeah. Anyway, I just felt like I had to confess to all of the P&A readers that I bought Call of Duty, even though I said I wouldn't. And it's not bad. It's not bad. It's good. I wouldn't call it great. I wouldn't call it perfect. I wouldn't call it, the best game ever. But it's Call of Duty, and it's not bad.
So that's one game that you bought this week. That seems like a lot. I mean, when was the last time you bought a game before that?
Maybe 36 hours before that.
What?
Okay, so we knew this one was coming, Chris. We just haven't talked about it. We knew this was coming. But I only bought the PS5 for like 2 reasons.
That's true.
And one of them was God of War.
Yeah, I guess I forgot that actually came out finally, like, this week.
So it kind of came out of nowhere, didn't it? Like,
it did, yeah. It snuck up on you, yeah.
They announced it like it was going to come out, and we were like, oh yeah, cool. And then, like, we heard nothing about it until like a week before it came out. And then all the reviews dropped and everything, like, and I was just like, oh yeah, this, like, Game of the Year game is coming out next week. And I was like, I can't wait. Like, it's literally, like, I bought the PS5 for 2 games, and one I have not played. So I needed to get it. So I got God of War Ragnarok, like, the day. I mean, I technically didn't pre-order it, but I did buy it the day it came out. And I have played I don't want to ruin any of the stories, so I don't want to talk about too much, but I played the first half hour of the game, about probably 30 minutes into the game, and I'm pretty sure my hand was on the controller for about 2.5 minutes.
Wow.
It's just been a movie. It's been amazing. It's been so good. I just want the movie. But like, there's the difficulty levels, right? And the lowest levels give me story, and that's literally what I chose. I don't care. I just 3 hits to kill an enemy. That's fine. I don't care. Whatever. Let's move on. What's the next story beat?
That was how I think I played God of War, the original, the 2018 one was, and maybe there was Give Me Story, or maybe it was like whatever the middle one is. But yeah, I definitely was like, I just want to know, like, give me all of your voice acting and all of your really cool mocap and all the really beautifully rendered scenes and everything else. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. I'm far away from my PS5 right now, which is a little sad, but I very much look forward to picking this up as soon as I get home.
So I've finally done what you told me to do forever ago, and I plugged my PS5 into one of my computer monitors directly.
Mm-hmm.
So I now get HDR. I'm not playing via PlayStation Anywhere. Like, it's not streaming. I'm playing, through an HDMI cable. But the problem I had with that is I couldn't get audio. Like, I wanted to get audio in my really nice computer headphones, and I didn't want to move any cords. So I've finally set it up that it works. I realized that my computer monitor, had an audio out for headphones. So I have my PlayStation HDMI into my monitor, and then I have an audio, like a 3.5 millimeter audio, 2.5 millimeter, I don't know, whatever normal headphone cable, going from my monitor to my input on my PC, and then using the really cool audio software that I have, Voice Meter, I have essentially a channel for the PlayStation now that is essentially coming from that monitor. And I can turn on and off that channel as I want, and I can still have complete computer control over the 2 monitors that are still kind of, on the computer screen, but all of the audio is pumped through my computer. So I can listen to, and the other nice thing about this is I can listen to a stream, like on Twitch, or I can have Discord open and have the same headset on that I would normally have on, and be listening to my PlayStation, and be watching the PlayStation on the monitor all at the same time. It is perfect. I'm so happy with the setup.
I've actually done this in the past where I've run audio through the line in on a computer, like a desktop computer, and then like monitored it and used my like mix with the computer audio. I forget why I needed to do it, but I have done it in the past, and yeah, it does work pretty well.
Did you do it with your keyboard?
No, I don't think I did it with that, the piano. I don't think I did that. Maybe it might have been something like that. But I've definitely done it before, and I didn't do it nearly as fancy as you did, but I was probably just checking the box in Windows that just says like monitor this input source or something, and that lets you hear it in your headphones or in your speakers. But I cannot remember for the life of me why I did it. But I totally approve of this solution, and I'm glad that you've landed on something that lets you actually run an HDMI cable from the PlayStation to a screen, because I do think that's the best way to experience, especially something like God of War. So do you notice any latency in the like audio coming through from the PlayStation to through this magical pipeline of things to your headphones?
Yeah, there's a couple of jumps, aren't there? There's the PlayStation to the monitor to the PC through the software, and the software out, and then into my headphones. No, I don't. I don't notice any latency. That doesn't mean it's not there. I'm not particularly sensitive to that. I would say I'm a little, like, I would say I'm average or normally sensitive to it, but I'm not, like, super sensitive to it. There might be a little bit of latency, but I have not noticed their lips not lighting up or anything like that. It has not bothered me. So, I was really happy that it all worked.
So does this mean that Jason is going to play more PlayStation games?
Maybe, probably not, but maybe. I mean, I bought the PS5 to play PlayStation 5 exclusives, and the only other PlayStation 5 exclusive right now that I want to play that isn't out on PC is Horizon Forbidden West, and I have not played nor finished, or I have not finished Horizon Zero Dawn. I haven't touched it in months at this point, but there's no point. There's no point for me to play. I mean, I would rather buy it on PC. Everyone else bought Call of Duty on PlayStation 5, and I was like, no, I'm getting it on Steam. So, no, I probably not, but I will play God of War. I will finish it. Oh my gosh, the first, I do not want to talk about the story because I do not want to ruin it, but oh my gosh, the first 30 minutes. Oh my gosh.
Well, I very much look forward to it at some point in the future. I've actually avoided all reviews because I'm like very much not, trying to avoid the spoiler side of things for anything for it, because I know I'm going to play it, so I don't need to read the reviews. Like, I don't need to know that everybody loves it, because of course they do. Like, I would have heard about it if it was really bad, so I'm basically just not consuming any of the reviews for it.
Yeah, that's a solid call. I would say a lot of the reviews I've watched, I mean, you're right, everyone loves it, so there's no point in watching the review if you're using it to actually make a decision on the game. You're right, everyone just loves it. So, but I like the hype around the reviews, and I will shout out my favorite YouTube video game person, reviewer, and news and everything, Skill Up. I talked about him on a previous podcast episode, and his review of God of War was a work of art. I mean, it was truly the writing and the presentation of the review was a work of art, and he avoided almost all spoilers. I mean, he avoided all spoilers that weren't spoiled in trailers. How's that? And it was masterful. It was really masterful. So if you are going to watch a review, which again, you're right, you don't need to go watch one because you're already going to get it and you're already going to play it whenever the time comes. But if anyone listening does want to go watch a review of God of War Ragnarok, I highly recommend Skill Up's review of God of War Ragnarok. We will put a link in the show notes.
I am a little bit sad because this means that I can't watch whatever episode that Girlfriend Reviews does on this until I've played the game, because they always do kind of spoilery reviews of it. But their stuff is funny. I haven't seen most of their stuff lately, but like, I always enjoy kind of watching the Girlfriend Review stuff. And most of the time I'm like, I'm never gonna play this game anyway, I don't care. But like for this one, I would be like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna watch it because I want to see the game for myself.
I can't wait for you to experience it. I haven't even played the whole thing, but I mean, they're excellent storytellers.
Yeah, I watched one of the behind the scenes like making of things where they showed a bunch of people in mocap suits and like kind of talked about how excited they were to get back together and do this thing and how great it was and everything else. And that you can tell that there's a lot of like passion behind the game and the studio and all the things that they're doing to really create these games and these I mean narratives, right? I mean, it's the stories that are really what draws you into it, not just the killing bad guys thing, because it's the game is more than that.
So the only other thing I want to point out about God of War is the voice actor Christopher Judge. I think, is that the right name?
That's the Kratos voice actor, I think.
Yeah, I think so. He posted something a couple days ago. He posted, I don't know if this was on the day it came out or around then, or leading up to it, kind of generating some hype, but he posted a video on Twitter, which we're not going to talk about Twitter, but he posted a video on Twitter of him in the Kratos voice doing dad jokes.
Oh, gosh.
And it is amazing. It is so good. We'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. It's not a spoiler, right? It's just him doing the voice, doing dad jokes, and they are so fun. It's just so funny.
Huh.
Anyway, if you have a PS5, go get God of War Ragnarok. If you have a PS4, you can get God of War Ragnarok. It did come out for PS4, which, whatever. So if you want to experience that story, great. But there's a little bit of feature stuff in the PS5, so it might be worth it if you. I mean, don't go out and spend $600 for one game, but it's out for PS4 too.
That is the one video I have watched, which was a graphics comparison between the PS4, PS4 Pro, and the PS5. And you can definitely tell between the PS4 and even the PS4 Pro and the PS5, like things are sharper, there's more detail, there's more, the Kratos' beard is more detailed and everything else. So yeah, I'm very excited to play this on a PS5 on a big screen, which I have. Cannot wait. So we spent a lot of time talking about video games on the show here, but I actually wanted to talk about a board game today.
I bet a lot of people know that listen to this, but if you don't know, Chris and I are actually both like pretty avid board game players. Like I have a whole closet full, and I think you guys do too.
Yeah, I have I don't know, maybe a dozen of like the kind of high quality board games, I would say. I don't know, there's a name for it, and I'm blanking on the name right now. Like artisanal, that's not the right word, but nice board games and relatively recent board games. Things like Settlers of Catan or like Wingspan, those kinds of games. I've started to get into these a little bit more. I think they're really fun. As we've talked about on the show before, I like roguelike games. I don't know if we've talked about it on the show, but I like deck building games. We have definitely talked on the show about Slay the Spire in the past. And right now they're running a Kickstarter, and I do apologize that it will be over by the time that this episode publishes. But Slay the Spire, the board game, is currently being run on Kickstarter.
Is it? Okay, so I'm not typically a huge fan of video games turning into board games, but Slay the Spire is one of those games that they could probably get very close to the original material.
Yes. And from looking at everything that I can see from the Kickstarter page, it looks like they have done it. Like they have really captured the essence of the video game in the board game. So if you're not familiar with Slay the Spire, right, it's a roguelike card game, deck building game, where you kind of go through these different rooms, as you kind of always do with roguelike games, and you fight monsters, and you have a deck, and after each encounter, you can pick to add cards to your deck, and that makes it so that you can be stronger and all these things. It's played in 3 acts, so you have a big boss at the end of each act, and the goal is to get through all the acts and win the game. You have like relics and artifacts or whatever that are modifiers for you. You have a health HP that kind of follows you from encounter to encounter as you attack enemies and stuff like that. And all of this stuff happens in a really nice, really good game that's out on PC and Switch, and I think on the consoles also. So it's on just every platform, and it's a very good game. So if you are looking for a fun deck building roguelike game, I highly recommend Slay the Spire.
I have played it as well. I actually, I mean, I don't like deck building roguelikes as much as you do, but I do like this game. It's really well designed. It's well paced. When you lose, it doesn't feel terrible. Like it like the roguelike loop, I would say, is satisfying. So yeah, no, it's a solid game. I like it a lot. I mean, when I think about it, I obviously think a lot about Hades, right? Hades being like the roguelike of at least, the last couple of years, if not going to be the roguelike of the decade. And it's like that, but it's a deck building. It's a card game instead of, action combat.
Yes. So for the board game, they have really captured the essence of everything. And the thing I'm most nervous about with the board game is just the amount of like setup it's going to take to play this game. Like in the computer, you can easily, do things like shuffling decks. You can do things like picking cards and putting them into decks. You can do things like, summoning minions and stuff because you just like spawn them in the game and they just show up. In a card game or a board game, like if you want to have something summon a minion, you have to like find the minion card in a pile of other cards and like put the minion card on a table. So I'm a little bit worried that it's going to become too laborious to play, like just logistically on a table. But I would say from what I've seen, they have really captured the essence of the game in this board game. And they've done it in a really clever way. So one thing that the game comes with is it comes with 400 what they call art sleeves, which are, I don't know if you've ever like seen somebody play like competitive Magic the Gathering, right? But they have these like sleeves that black out the back of the cards, like they're black on one side and clear on the other side, and then they have their whole deck is just in these little sleeves. This is the same thing, but the back of them says Slay the Spire, like it's actually like looks like a nice like card back. And you put the cards in the sleeves because in Slay the Spire you can upgrade cards, and so they made it so that you take the card out of the sleeve, flip it over, and put it back in the sleeve, and that makes it upgraded.
Oh,
and it's like a really clever way to do that. Yeah. So this is another thing that I'm worried about, though, of the like logistics of setting up this game is like, okay, now I've upgraded some cards, not upgraded some cards. How do I like undo that, right? How do you kind of build the decks back up together to make them into the original kind of setup? And so I'm worried that it's just going to be too much like work. But it'll be fun to play once.
Yeah, the first time it'll be great.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure if you have to like take it all apart to get it all back together. I don't know.
So did you back this Kickstarter? Are you going to get this?
Yes, I did back it. I did it at like a middle level, which is an expensive game, but it also comes with 800 cards or something like that, 730 cards.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a big set. It comes with 400 of these sleeves because you can play up to 4 people. I should also mention it is a cooperative card game. So you can have, similar to Across the Obelisk, which we talked about a couple months ago, you can actually have up to 4 players, like 4 people playing, and they all participate in battles, and they take their turns simultaneously, to your point about Marvel Snap.
Hey.
So I do hope that you and I can play this game sometime in person, because I think it would be really fun, and I think it would be like a good, crossover kind of between video games and board games.
Slay the Spire is not a cooperative video game, right? It's single player only?
Yes, it's single player only as a video game.
So they've added to this just for the card game. Okay, all right. I mean, card games traditionally are more of a group activity. I mean, not card. I mean, board games, card games traditionally are a little bit more, or at least more so than video games are a cooperative or a multi-person activity, right? Single-player video games are commonplace; they're normal. Whereas a single-player card game like Solitaire, not as common, not as normal. So I'm glad they've done this. I'm glad they've kind of retrofitted it a little bit to support multiple people.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think it's going to be cool. They had one video on the Kickstarter that showed like a couple of people playing the game like on a table, because they had seeded out some review copies and stuff like that, and so that they could make these videos so that they could do this Kickstarter. And I watched these couple guys play it, and like it seemed good. Like it seemed like it worked. I was a little bit, it is mechanically just a lot of things to keep up with and keep track of, but I think if you play a little bit, you would kind of get used to it. Because like there's stuff like you can weaken enemies, right? You apply status effects and stuff, and it's like when you do that, you put like a little token on top of the enemy, and that means that the enemy takes double damage or whatever. It's interesting kind of how they've adapted some of these things that are easy to do in a computer and turn them into something that you can play on a table. For instance, they have like a system where every time you have an encounter, you roll a die, and that die kind of seeds what the enemy does, and like what they can do. And so then you're like, oh, I rolled a 3, and so like you look up 3, and the 3 is like, oh, they do this attack. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Like so that's how you get a little bit of kind of randomness to the game without having the computer kind of keeping track of it for you.
That's cool. That's cool. That could become tedious, though. I mean, I understand what you're saying. Like, if you have to look up the enemy attack based on your roll every time, or
so I'm wondering if you'll just be sitting there being like, man, I wish I just could play this on a computer. Oh wait, I can play this on a computer, and then you just don't play the board game. But they say it only takes 90 minutes, and you can play up to 4 people. So we'll see how that translates in the real world.
When does it? So Kickstarters, right? It's typically pre-funded. Does it say at all when you might get it?
Yeah, I think that it's supposed to come before December of 2023. So
1 year.
1 year, yes, it's going to be a while.
That's fair though. That's reasonable.
So we'll do some follow up in a year to see how this game has come along and if I actually got it.
I would say if you want to play Slay the Spire with Chris, but you can't because it's a single player game until we get the board game. So if you want to play Call of Duty with me, or anything else, if you want to chat about no God of War spoilers in the Discord, please. No God of War spoilers. That's like Instaban territory right there, right? Like no. But you can join our Discord by visiting discord.pnapodcast.com.
If you want to find links to stuff we spoke about or find any of our older episodes, you can visit our website at pnapodcast.com. That's P, the letter N, the letter A, podcast.com.
If you're enjoying the show, we would love if you could share it with some others that may enjoy it as well.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll talk to you next time.
How long has it been since season 2 of Mythic Quest?
I think it came out in 2020, end of 2020, maybe.
It's just felt like forever. Does it feel like shows are like in between seasons is getting longer? Am I just getting older? What is this?
Well, it's probably a lot of things. But yes, it does feel like that like the time between shows is getting longer. But I feel like that's because in like 2021, there was this like very strong kind of cadence of new shows because they all had kind of paused in 2020. And so you kind of went from like one new show to another new show, like 1 month at a time, like month after month after month. And now we're starting to kind of run out of that like pipeline of things. And so it's feeling like things are taking forever to come back, but they are coming back, which is nice to see. Like they're not necessarily all getting canceled, which is the thing that I hate the most about, especially Netflix's business model, is that they just run something for 1, 2, 3 seasons and then you'll never see it again. So
we're bringing this up because a show that Chris and I like a lot is back for season 3. Episodes 1, 2, and 3 have come out. I think by the time that this publishes, episode 4 will be out as well. But Mythic Quest on Apple TV Plus is back out for season 3. It is perfect. It is perfect. It is a perfect video game developer industry office culture comedy. It is just so good.
Yeah, it's a workplace comedy. I mean, it's kind of like not quite as sitcom as The Office, but like it's that kind of thing where you have a cast of characters, you get to know them, they're all at work, and you kind of see their interactions in the workplace. But it's like with an extra level of crazy and ridiculous, I would say.
There are moments in the first episode, and Chris can back me up on this, where the situation is so real to anyone that's ever been in an office situation before, particularly when, not everyone knows what's going on. And there's just this one scene, I won't ruin it, but it's like, I was laughing so hard because of how true it was in like situations that I've actually been in before, but in the show, they can say whatever they want, right? And you're just like, God, I wish I could have said that in the moment. It's just so funny. It's so good. I find it much funnier than something like The Office, just because I like the topic of video game development a little bit more. I don't know, it resonates with me a little bit more.
You mean you like video games more than you like paper salesmen?
Yeah, it just, I don't know. It's
okay. You can admit it. This is a safe space. You can like them more than paper salesmen.
The jokes are just so much more on point. And it's great. Mythic Quest, season 3.
And you should also see seasons 1 and 2 before you go see season 3. The whole run of the show is very good. And I would also say, just to throw in there, that every season, it seems, they throw in one like weird episode that's like a throwback or like a heartfelt story, like a totally standalone thing, almost like a mini movie. And both of those have actually been pretty good. The first one was better than the second one, but I'm really hoping that we get another one in season 3. So
you get a huge curveball in season 1, right? Like just this massive curveball, and you're like, what the heck is going on? And boy, does it pay off. Oh, it hits right.
Yes. So Mythic Quest, highly recommend. Very good show. Apple TV Plus.
Chris, you now have theoretically all of the information that you need to theoretically, potentially, hypothetically make a decision on a possible someday graphics card.
Yes, you're correct. I do have all of the information, almost all of the information that I would need. There are 2 pieces of information that I'm waiting for, but they're not really waiting for them per se. So as we all know, the 4090 has been announced. We talked about that a couple episodes ago for $1,600, which is a lot of money. It's also as big as an Xbox Series S, so there's that.
I love that fact.
Yes, just had to throw that in there. The thing that we have now is that AMD has announced their next graphics card, right? They've kind of unleashed or unveiled their what is it called? The 7900 XTX and the 7900 XT, which is going to slot in at $800 or $900 and $1,000, like $899 and $999. So yes, those prices are much more palatable. But also, this coming week is the 3080 or 4080, excuse me, the Nvidia 4080 coming out, and there haven't been any benchmarks coming out about 4080s yet. There also haven't been any real benchmarks coming out about the AMD stuff either. So I just haven't been able to. I don't have quite all the information I need. I have the price points, and I have kind of a leaning, but I don't have exactly what I'm going to do yet figured out.
Where are you leaning? What is like if you had to make a decision today?
So I think if I had to make a decision today, I would probably go for the Radeon RX 7900 XTX, which is the highest end AMD card that they've announced. Like I said, that one is $999. It's got 24 gig of RAM, which is kind of mind blowing actually. But it should be plenty good for anything I'm going to do for the next 5 years. So that's kind of what I try to go for, is like really getting ahead of the curve a little bit and then letting the curve kind of catch up to me and me kind of fall behind a little bit. I would like to see how it does with ray tracing, because I know that that's kind of all the rage right now, and that Nvidia is really good at it. So I'm interested to see benchmarks and to see what that really looks like on the AMD side of things. My use case is primarily 1440p gaming, but I want to be able to do it on multiple monitors, maybe. So like try to set up like a full panorama kind of setup on my 3 gaming monitors with like Forza Horizon or something like that, so I can get kind of that surround feel to it. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm leaning right now, but I could be swayed if the reviews are so much better for like maybe a 4080. I think a 4090 is just right out, but maybe a 4080. Are you at all in the market for any of this stuff?
I'm going to do what I normally do and wait for you to make a decision. Do you remember this happened? This happened with our current PC builds, right?
Yes, I do remember that. I did a lot of research and I picked a bunch of stuff, and then you just went and snapped it all up right after me.
Well, listen, like I know I built my own stuff, but I had built lower. I mean, I picked lower end stuff. I think you're the one that convinced me to go. What is it? The 3900 CPU.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to get like a 3700, and I was just like, that'll be good enough. And you're just like, no, we're going to get. Well, you said no, I'm going to get the 3900. I was like, you're going to pay for the 3900, and you were like, yeah, I'm going to pay for the 3900. I was like, well, if Chris thinks its value is worth that, then I'm certainly going to pay for it.
Yeah, okay.
Because
fair.
if Chris can justify the value of that product, and that's what he's going to go with, even though it's a premium. Like it's not a premium, it's higher priced, and I mean, if you make that decision, then that is way above my bar. Like So depending on where you go with your graphics card, I wouldn't say I absolutely need one now. I have not had any problems where I'm like dying for a graphics card at this point. So I'm going to wait to see what you decide. I would say generally I've never had an AMD graphics card, and there's a little hesitancy just because of the unknown. Not that it should make a difference, not that anything, but I know the Nvidia control panel. I know the GeForce Now experience. I know, just some of the features that come along with that. I know, how to do the thing you're talking about with 3 screens playing Forza Horizon. It's called Nvidia Surround when you do it with Nvidia, right? Like I know the terminology. I know those kinds of things. So I'm a little hesitant to go into AMD graphics card territory, but I was the same way with CPU. I'd never had a non-Intel CPU until my current computer. So not a big deal. I wouldn't say it's huge, but no, definitely going to see where you land. And then that will be a critical piece of input to my decision-making.
I think that's fair. That I will research it a lot, and yes, that's fine.
As you do, which is why I trust what you come up with.
Yes.
See Chris's car buying episode.
Oh yeah, that was a journey.
Classic P&A.
Boy, it wasn't just one episode. It was like the pre-show for a year.
It was a lot of episodes. It was great.